What's going on YouTube? I am back with another video, and in this one we're going to be talking about something pretty interesting, and that is going to be the current pros and cons of some of the bigger grading companies. So if you guys are familiar with the channel, you guys know I have graded with just about every grading company out there, so I think I'm pretty knowledgeable on the subject. And again, I wanted to talk about the current pros and cons because the grading landscape does change pretty frequently. So I thought this one would be pretty interesting. And maybe I'll do another one of these in 3 to 4 months and see how much it has changed again, because these companies are constantly changing their turnaround times, their pricing, and just different options. And even maybe in 3 or 4 months there's another new grading company that takes everything by storm. We really don't know, but I thought this would be pretty interesting. Again, I have graded with pretty much all of the major grading companies out there, so hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Again, not a lot of things going on right now in the hobby that I'm interested in. I know we just had Obsidian, and after watching a case break of that, I just could not pay $500 for a box. I saw many boxes where honestly you'd be lucky to get 20 bucks out of. And then I'm not super big on this year's NBA draft class, so I didn't want to pick up a hobby box of Chronicles draft picks. I'll probably pick up some retail of Chronicles draft picks, but again, I think that was right around like 350 bucks. And again, it's going to be very, very tough to make your money back on that one as well. So passed on yesterday's products, and I was kind of, trying to think of ideas, and I thought this one would be pretty interesting. So before we do get into it, I am going to be talking about PSA, of course. I'm going to be talking about SGC, HGA. I think they've gotten a lot of attention lately. People know about HGA, so I want to include them in this list. I've graded with HGA, and then I'm going to be talking about BGS. And that's pretty much it. I do have a transparent grading team slab over there, but I'm just gonna briefly mention them at the end. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this list. We are gonna start with PSA. They are, they pretty much command the biggest premium on the market. So we'll go ahead and start with the pros of PSA. And I do have a list over here. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I don't have this list memorized. So we're going to start with the pros of PSA again. So PSA 10s do command a premium on the market. They do go for quite a bit more than SGC 10s, HGA 95s, BGS 95s. So again, I think that is why PSA is pretty much considered the top dog of the grading companies, because if you do get a PSA 10, it is going to go for that premium. And then also their current turnaround times are very, very fast. Now, I will say this is, kind of touching on one of the cons. Currently, they are only offering express and super express submissions. So the pros to those are they are very, very fast. The cons are they are very, very expensive. So right now, Express is taking about 2 weeks and Super Express is taking about 1 week, which is really, really nice. But you are going to have to pay up for those services. Express is $150 currently, and Super Express is double that at $300 currently. So if you're going to be sending cards to PSA, they need to be pretty big, valuable cards. In my opinion, probably over like that $500 mark. That way, if you do, if you're paying $150 or $300 and you do get a 10, it's probably going to increase that value quite a bit. So again, next pro is very fast grading, and then just some other real quick pros I want to touch on. I think these are pretty much givens, but PSA has been around forever. They are one of the most notable grading companies on the market. The website is very user-friendly, works great, very easy to use. I do love that the labels have the QR code, so all you have to do is hold your camera up to the QR code. It brings up the pop report immediately. All the cards are serial numbered, so that makes it very, very nice. And then again, the pop report is very easy to read and use. So those are some of the pros of PSA, and now some of the cons. Again, I mentioned currently, again, this entire list is current pros and cons. Very, very expensive to grade at the moment. And then one of the biggest cons, in my opinion, is the grading scale. So obviously you see the labels here. There are no subgrades, which is definitely nice to subgrades kind of help you determine why your card graded the way it did. And then, you know, they also don't scan the card, which really none of the grading companies scan the cards other than Transparent, which I'll touch on later. And then I don't like how the grades jump from 8 to 9 to 10. Now there are half grades between like 8 and 9, but those are very, very rare. You know, I've sent in thousands of PSA cards and maybe gotten a handful of 8.5s, but then they don't have 9.5. So to me, it makes no sense how they have half grades up through 9, and then it just jumps from 9 to 10. I don't get that at all. I think it's just too big of a gap. You know, for example, a card that is not perfectly centered, it's clearly off-centered. Now, of course, PSA does have their guidelines that are out there published. I think the PSA 10 guidelines is 60-40. You can still get a 10. But in my opinion, that's not really a 10. I think there is the need for 9.5. If the centering is off 60-40, that is not a gem mint perfect card. So I do think a 9.5 is needed. That gap from 9 to 10 is just too big. And I think, you know, really they're the only company that does that. Everyone else has that 9.5 grade. But then again, why change when you're the top dog and PSA 10s command that premium? So why change? But in my opinion, a 9.5 is definitely necessary. I've talked about that before. So that does it for the pros and cons on PSA. Now we're gonna move on to SGC. I'll go ahead and put it out there. They are my current favorite grading company. They are absolutely killing it right now. So starting off with some pros of SGC, they are very, very affordable right now. You know, depending on if you go through a group sub or you send yourself, the price is going to be right around $30 per card. So very, very affordable, you know, compared to PSA at $150 or $300, $30 is nothing. And then very fast turnaround times. Up until here recently, their advertised turnaround time was 20 to 25 business days. And they were consistently hitting turnaround times with shipping to and from about a month to a month and a half. Now here recently, they did actually change to 45 to 50 business days, but they said on Instagram, you know, that is just to get ahead of it. They're not expecting to, you know, for the turnaround time to actually hit 45 to 50 days. It's just to kind of keep everyone's expectations in check. So if they're advertised 45 days, it comes back in 25, you know, they exceeded everyone's expectations. That's what I'm trying to say. So very affordable, very fast turnaround times. And then the cons I have are that some people don't like the slabs. Some people don't like the black borders. Personally, I don't mind them. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely not my least favorite either. You know, in my opinion, it's fine. And then I also forgot to mention on the pros on SGC, real quick, I want to backtrack just a little bit. I do think they have the best grading scale. Almost forgot to mention that. So again, I don't have any 9.5s, but the grades do jump from 9 to 9.5. And then obviously they do have the 10s here, which 10s are very attainable, something I've talked about a lot about. You know, if you send in cards in good condition, you can definitely expect to get 10s at a pretty reasonable rate. And then above that, they do have the pristine. You can see the gold label on this 10. So that is a pristine, which are very, very hard to get. But it's something that I really do like. It adds that extra premium. Kind of similar, I'm sure people are familiar with the BGS black label. This is pretty similar to that. Very, very hard to get. This is the only one that I have ever gotten personally. So I do really, really like their grading scale. But back to cons. Another con after, you know, some people don't like the black borders, is that the resale value is not quite where PSA is. So I did look up some Zion Prism base cards for PSA, SGC, and some of the other companies just to kind of compare prices. I know it can vary by card, but I figured Zion was a pretty common one. So again, this is a Zion Prism base card. The resale value, not as good as PSA, and sales are pretty inconsistent. So a Zion Prism based PSA 10 sells consistently around $375 to $400. Now again, this is currently at the time of recording this. And the SGC 10s are anywhere from $200 to $350. So as you can see, SGC 10s are kind of all over the place, whereas PSA 10s are pretty consistent. But you know, so that pretty much does it for SGC. Just inconsistent sales, and then you know, not quite where PSA is. And then next up, we are going to talk about HGA. So I do have some HGA slabs I want to show here. Some of the pros are that the slabs and labels look incredible. So this is my personal favorite label. You know, I think they did a really good job matching the colors on the card here. And then in my opinion, these are actually my favorite slabs as well. You know, I love the rounded corners. I love the clear glass. I think they feel super premium and sturdy in hand. And then as you can see on the labels, they also do have the subgrade. So again, that is another thing I do really like about HGA. You know, SGC and PSA do not have subgrades, so it kind of leads to a little guesswork as to why your card did grade the way it did. So I really like, you know, companies that do have the subgrades. And then let's see, the next pro we have is that the grades do take the average of all of the subs. So let's see, this is a true gem, so that's an easy one. That one got a 9.5. Let's see, I thought I had an example here. So this is, let me talk about another pro real quick. So they do have the custom labels, which I do really like. The Lamar checkerboard with the checkerboard label. I think that one looks really nice. But back to the average of the subs. Let's see. Actually, I have a BGS. Let me show the BGS one real quick. So as you can see on this one, the subgrades are 10, 10, 9, 9. Now, if this was an HGA slab, it would have gotten a 9.5. But in BGS, it got a 9 because BGS actually does not take the average of all the subgrades, which is something I don't like. It doesn't really make sense to me. It should be the average. So I thought I had an example of an HGA slab like that, but I guess I don't. So let's go back to HGA and now talk about the cons. That was pretty much, oh, and one more pro is that they do actually have 4 different pricing and turnaround time options, which is nice. I think at the current time period, HGA actually has the most options as far as pricing and turnaround times. And now moving on to the cons, the resale value is not great. The last Zion 9.5 did $150. So again, PSA was up around 400. SGC 10s are around, I think I said 200 to 350. And then the last HGA 9.5 did 150. So definitely nowhere close to PSA, kind of close to SGC. And then another con is the grading scale, something I've talked a lot about. My major con with HGA is how hard they grade. So if you go on and look at the pop report, you can see for yourself, HGA 9s are definitely the most common grade. As you can see here, I do have 2 here, and then I do have a 9.5, but HGA 9.5s are very similar to BGS 9.5s, where those are pretty much like their PSA 10s. Those are going to be, you know, the HGA 10s and BGS 10s are extremely hard to get. So that is the major con, in my opinion, is the HGA grading scale. And then it is very expensive. I know I mentioned earlier the different pricing and turnaround times. So for 2-day, it's $75 per card. And then for 10-day, it's $50 per card. So if you want your cards back graded quickly, you are gonna have to pay up. It's quite a bit more than, you know, SGC at $30, but you will get them back, you know, a lot quicker. And then some of the labels don't actually turn out very good. So again, I talked about, you know, I think that the Lamar and the Mason Mount look amazing. These, I mean, these look awesome in my opinion, but the DiVincenzo, you know, sometimes it just doesn't come out that good. And as you can see, the card is actually a little crooked in there. So some of the cards are actually loose in the cases a little bit, but the blue on the label does not match the blue on the card at all. It really clashes. So some of the labels don't turn out very good. I've seen a lot of those, but then again, you know, some look amazing. So you're kind of at the mercy of HGA with, you know, just how it comes out. So next, let's move on to BGS. This is pretty much going to be the last one. Again, I'll touch on TGT very briefly. And starting off with the pros, honestly, I had to go to Instagram for some help here. I was, again, this is current pros and cons. Other than the possibility, I talked about the pristine with SGC earlier. Other than the possibility of a BGS 10 or a BGS 10 black label, I literally could not think of any pros for BGS. I mean, I honestly, personally, I will not ever use BGS again, and I'll talk about that and explain some of that here in a minute. But real quick, I do have a couple pros. Again, I did go to Instagram for some help here. But again, the first pro I mentioned, you can get the BGS 10, which I do have one here. 3 10s and 195 is going to be a pristine 10. And then if you do get all 4 10s, that is going to be a black label 10, which commands a super, super premium. So a BGS 95 Zion, I believe, is going for around $200, maybe a little bit above $225. A black label Prism base Zion, black label, just went for $15,000. So if you do get a black label, you are gonna get a super, super premium. However, that's basically like hitting the lottery. It is very, very hard to do. So that's the major pro for BGS, is that possibility for the 10 or the black label. And then another pro, which I thought about this for HGA, but I just didn't think about it for BGS, and that is the subgrades. But again, they don't take the average of the subgrades, which kind of frustrates me. This one should be a 9.5, but it did get a 9. And then one of the pros is the grading scale. So this one was a little difficult. I had the grading scale for BGS as a pro and a con, because you can get the 9s, you can get the 9.5s, you do have the half grades. But again, the 10s and the black labels are just extremely, extremely hard to get. Again, I think SGC has the best grading scale, where 10s are still very attainable, but very, very hard to get with HGA and BGS. And now for the cons. Get ready for the cons here, guys. Again, I will not be ever, I don't want to say ever, because, things could change. I said I would never grade with HGA again, and here I am. But as of this time, I do not have any plans to ever grade with BGS again. So the main gripe I have with BGS is their customer service. Their customer service is the absolute worst in the grading industry. Absolutely atrocious. And real quick, I'm going to throw up a clip from another person. I believe it was on Instagram, who just got a submission back. They got it back in September, and they sent it in July of 2020. So it took 14 months. So if you guys are in my BGS submission, the only one I'm waiting on that was sent in August, it is currently almost 14 months, so it should be back, any day to week now. So I just want to throw that out there as well. But I want to throw up a clip of someone who had been waiting on their submission for 14 months, and the very first card they got out of the submission, the card was in the label upside down. So I'm going to throw that up now.
Is it Tatum in there? No, not yet, not yet. This one was a sub from 14 months ago. 14 months ago, just to say it again. All right, we got... Oh, what the hell? Look, what the hell? Come on, BGS. You're going to make me wait 14 months? Down, though, for real? BGS, come on, man. 14 months, and you're putting my cards upside down. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm going to put that one on right here. I'll put that one right there. Because what the hell just happened?
All right, guys. So as you saw from that clip, the very first card they got out of that submission after waiting 14 months was in the slab upside down, which is absolutely ridiculous. You wait 14 months, you get your card back, and it's upside down. And really, the only reason I even bring that up, going back to customer service, is that they are not going to fix that right now. I recently had, well, not recently, probably a couple months ago now, I got a submission back, and 2 customers in the submission, they mixed up the labels on the cards. One label was supposed to go to the other one, and then the label on that one was supposed to go in the other slab. So I reached out to the BGS rep, and they had just recently closed to kind of, I think right now they're only offering premium submissions. So they had just shut down to get caught up. I reached out to the BGS rep and said, hey, this happened. Can I go ahead and send these back and get these fixed for these customers? his one sentence response was, I might actually throw it up on the screen actually. I think it was like, you can send these back when we reopen to be fixed. That was it. So that's just one example of the poor customer service. You know, in the year and a half that I've been waiting on some of these submissions, my credit card actually expired, and I reached out to that rep and said, hey, my credit card's expired. I just want to send you the new card, so when a submission is done, there won't be any issues. You can charge that card, we'll be good to go. Every single submission, they have charged the card that was expired, and they have to reach out to me and get the new information. So that's just one of many stories why their customer service is absolutely atrocious. So they are currently only offering the premium submission at $250. Going back to some more cons, they have one option at $250, so very, very expensive. The grading scale, which I talked about earlier, is another con, customer service. And then the turnaround times, again, currently I am waiting on a submission that has been 14 months. And then the slabs. Personally, I don't like their slabs. I think they are very rigid. I like, SGC and HGA, how they have their rounded corners. I do really like how the 9.5s and 10s have the gold label, but then if you get anything under a 9 with that like paper white label, I just think it looks super, super tacky. Personally, don't like them at all. So that is pretty much gonna do it for BGS. My least favorite grading company by far at the moment. And then real quick, briefly, just want to talk about Transparent Grading Team. I think they are doing some really, really cool things. They do have a grading scale similar to SGC where you can get 10s. And the coolest thing about TGT is that they actually scan each card front and back, and they will show any imperfections on the card, so you know why your card got what it did. They also do have the subgrades. So big fan of what they're doing, and hopefully they can continue to grow and gain some popularity in the hobby, because I like what they're doing. So just wanted to mention them super quick. But that is gonna do it for this video. I know I went a little long, kind of rambled, but hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. If you made it this far, leave it a like, leave it a comment. Let me know what your current favorite grading company is. I'd definitely be interested to know. So that's gonna do it, and I'll see you guys soon.